There were ashes falling again on the village of Lytton in British Columbia. The wildfires are nearby in what's expected to be one of the worst fire seasons on record. The people of Lytton are still rebuilding after the fires destroyed most of their village 4 years ago. And there's a book. It's called Lytton: Climate Change, Colonialism, and Life Before the Fire. And it tells us what we lose when we lose places like Lytton. It was written by Peter Edwards and Kevin Loring, and Peter Edwards joins us now. Hi, Peter. So nice of you to join us.
Oh, it's so nice of you to have me. Thank you.
So, Lytton, it stands at the junction of the Fraser and Thompson rivers. The first inhabitants called their village the center of the world. It's an ancient place, isn't it?
10,000 years at least, and it's got that feeling to it. It's got that permanent feeling, even though it keeps burning down. You just always assume it's going to be there.
Because fire is a constant worry for the village of Lytton, isn't it? There have been fires there before, as you say, it keeps burning down. The fires back again. But the people of Lytton, they're stubborn, aren't you? They stay. You say that we should never underestimate them.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling, but I just can't see it going away. And some of it's it seems laughable from the outside. And now, like working in Toronto, it seems so tiny, but the population was 249 before the fire. When I was there in the heyday, it was maybe 500. There are a couple thousand Indigenous people who live within an hour or two of Lytton, and it just is the center. It's where the two rivers come together, and it's got this feeling that you're home when you're there. It's an odd feeling, but it's a real one.
You know, we were just seeing some of the footage of what Lytton looked like after the fire 4 years ago. I mean, the history of this place goes back to the gold rush when gold was found in the Fraser River. In addition to the First Nations, it was also home to missionaries, Buddhist monks, the BC Bullet, Rattlesnake Dan, Raphael. Edward Bulwer Lytton, he wrote the line, "It was a dark and stormy night." I mean, there's a lot of fascinating characters who lived in Lytton.
Yeah, and they had a writing contest for the worst opening paragraph, and that was hotly contested. That only ended this year, but he wrote, "It was a dark and stormy night." He wrote "The Great Unwashed." In the Peanuts cartoon, Snoopy sitting on the doghouse would be typing out a line that the namesake of Lytton wrote. So it had a sort of an odd pride to it. We also had a winner of Canada's drag race. I mean, we had and the Olympic gold medalist who lost his medal briefly for having marijuana in the system. So
Yeah, and you don't
we,
expect Buddhist monks to end up in a place like that?
it touched a lot of bases, and you could just be yourself. I mean, my dad had his head on straight, but he sometimes wore his pants inside out, and he just wouldn't bother turning them around. I mean, everybody in town wasn't shocked, and nobody cared. Um, and and he just did it. And there were all sorts of things. We had a swim meet where kids were wearing life jackets, and they just sort of got thrown into the water and would bob around, and they got participation points, and they'd throw them off the diving board, and they got points for that. I mean, you could basically do what you wanted to do, and nobody really judged you. Someone called us free range kids, and I think that was pretty accurate.
You know, those of us who live in eastern Canada, we'd hear about these towns burning out west. I remember hearing about how Lytton burned down. We didn't think much of it. It was just another, not to minimize it, but it was another town that was burning out in Western Canada. But what do you think we lose when we lose places like Lytton, when places like that are destroyed and disappear?
There's a real heart to it, and there's a real humanity. I mean, in my job, I'm constantly dealing with strangers, with people who sometimes are very angry, who sometimes have a lot to get off their chest. And in Lytton, I was just encouraged to talk to people, not to be afraid of people. If I was cold, just knock on the door and go inside and get some hot chocolate. There's a real humanity, and so I was just brought up not to be afraid of people, and it's a real blessing. And I think about it all the time, especially in my work. You know, sometimes I wonder why some things don't rattle me, and I think, well, in Lytton, that just wasn't a big deal.
Yeah,
I never was afraid of a stranger.
Because, you know, what I do thank you for is you really did bring that village to life with all the people who live there and the history. And I think it gives us more perspective when we do hear about entire villages going up in flames. But do you think there is a future for Lytton?
I think so, just because the people are so tough. Like the book allowed me to reconnect with a lot of people from my childhood, and it they feel the same way. Like the way we're talking right now is the way they feel, and well, there's a guy, Robert Bowen. I mean, he'll be there longer than the mountains. I mean, and when I was a little kid, I'd tag along behind him, and he was kind of my hero, and he'd take me on little adventures. And this guy you just won't chase him away. And there are other people. Kevin's aunt, Sheila Adams, was the smartest kid in my grade, and she'll be around forever. Some of these people are. I just can't conceive of them anywhere else.
Okay. Well, Peter, thank you very much. And thank you very much for the book, because you really did open our eyes to places like Lytton. So thank you for that.
But I really appreciate this. Thank you.